Michelle Lim. we have our next speaker, Michelle Lim, who is going to talk about a marvellous project that she and her friends, who formed a very effective team, ran in Singapore, relating to one of the last Dragon Kilns existing.
Sorry, I'll type. Would you like this one? What's the difference? I think I'll just talk here. Thank you. Hi, because of the lack of time, I'll just go directly to the video. Hi. So what was not shown in the video is actually the lease has been extended for 9 years and not just 2 or 3 years. The media gets a bit confused sometimes, which is, I think, everywhere, which is quite a feat in Singapore, if you know Singapore. Even a car after 10 years gets scrapped. Buildings don't usually last beyond 10 years. So I'm from Singapore, and most of you who have been there or have heard of it think of this city with lots of skyscrapers, shopping malls, fancy cars, lots of people, shopping malls. So many of us would not have ever imagined that it still has a space or a place like this. Even I didn't know that it had a place like this where 2 Dragon Kilns lay until I came to ANU, and during my first year of my degree, I happened to open a 1979 edition of Ceramics Monthly, and there it was on the front cover, Dragon Kilns in Singapore. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I came all the way here. I still have 2 more years to go. So, but I made sure that during that summer holiday, I would go back to Singapore and find out if they still exist. And in that place where the kilns are was this beautiful, dense jungle where we call Jalan Bahar. Unfortunately, in 2011, when I graduated and went back home to Singapore, I discovered that the same space or place that I went to, the land had been flattened, trees were being pulled out, uprooted, and machineries were there. And all this was to build an eco-park. So, ironies aside, what we were really concerned about was, because that's right smack where the Dragon Kilns were, my friends and I were concerned that the kilns might be next because their lease was not renewed anymore. So that was when Post-Museum and Art Collective, who are my friends, and myself, we decided to do something about it, because there's no harm, right? Since it's already going to be gone, what we can do is try our best. And so at the time we thought about the situation, why in the past we had 30 over kilns from the 18th century onwards, why were we only left with 2? And the main reason was because Dragon Kilns in Singapore used to be supporting an industry like the rubber plantation. Cups fired in the Dragon Kilns were used to collect latex for rubber plantations. And when that industry fell, so did the Dragon Kilns and all the other supporting industries. So what we intended to do was transform this space and its new purpose from industrial to communal, from an exclusive space for potters to an inclusive space for the public, so that they realize that this space is not just for a certain craft or certain people, but it's a shared space and a shared heritage that we all can have and be a part of. It was in this direction that we decided to use clay as our medium to galvanize the masses. We all know that clay can be used to make things and create, but what I found out was that we could use it to also move people. And so in the video you saw that we had all these workshops, and in our workshops we intended to educate, to tell people about the story, and to get them to make, and thereby engaging them in the process of awakening the dragon. So this is actually the most controversial part. If you know Singapore, everything is owned by the state. So we really wanted to use local clay, but we weren't sure whether we could, dig clay and not be caught. So we found ways around it. We eventually did manage to get clays from different parts of Singapore that represented the history. And this was a very special thing because many of us in Singapore seldom make things with our hands, much less make something with Singapore, make something with the country. And that was a metaphor that we actually got to be very tangible in the end. So this tactile approach really transformed imagination to reality and get people to feel empowered. And in that video you saw, we managed to reach about 3,000 over people in the first year, and subsequently, as the second year now, we've reached over 10,000 people. Our main thing from the beginning, we knew that there was no point just concentrating on a certain group of people. We wanted to get as large a cross-section across the communities as possible. And it's almost a forced inclusivity that was part of our plan. Forced because when we did a few workshops, we would look at the demographics and think, okay, we have not reached out to this group of people yet. So how do we get to them? Sometimes we wondered if there was money, so we would tell them that workshops would be free for you as long as you took part. And in this way, our ripple effect was, we got to a much wider audience, and the voice that turned back was much louder and much stronger. This method really worked for us because from the very beginning, we felt that there was no point in just, it worked really well because we wanted the people to speak on our behalf. We didn't want to go confrontational with the government or the authorities that were making these decisions. So when we got many people involved, they actually spread the word for us, and they actually came back. A lot of the participants started to volunteer with us, and we never asked them whether they could help. they just turned up and said, do you need help with chopping the wood? Do you need money and things like that? Even the media and PR was done by the public. We didn't have time to do outreach for the media. So what you saw in the video, like BBC or Al Jazeera, they came to us, I guess, based on word of mouth. In fact, the petition that championed the renewal of the Dragon Kilns lease was also started by a member of public and not us, even though a lot of people think it was us. So the real reason why I wanted to share this story very much with all of you is because of the support from the Australian ceramics community. From the very beginning, even before the conceptualization of this festival, we felt that, I thought about all the events that I attended in Australia, from the Gulgong events to the Triennale, and to see how exhibitions are put together, even though things are so different and people have different beliefs. All that really made an impression on me. And it was even more physical when people like Ian Jones and Maureen McKenna came all the way down to Singapore to advise us on how to repair the kilns, what wood to use, things like that. Because at that time, we didn't know how to fire it. No one could tell us, no one alive at least. Yeah. And it wasn't just the advice. They actually flew down on the festival week to help with the firing. And people like Janet that would advise over email. And our friends from the school, students who are still studying in ANU would fly down to support us, to give talks and demonstrations. All these really encouraged me, but I think it encouraged the local community even more because they realized that they're not alone and that people outside care about their situation too. So, okay, Median. I guess during this journey, it's our second time running it already, and I learned that the craft and community, the relationship that the Dragon Kiln has with the community is symbiotic, and that we can make, even though we can do things alone, we can often make things a lot better, a lot bigger when we have everyone else. Yeah. Thank you.